Hey guys, Barry Mulgady here, back for this episode of the Comeback Game podcast with Taki Moore, the head honcho at $1 Million Coach and founder of Black Belt Program. Taki, mate,
dude,
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I'm really excited about this. We're going to see each other in Manly next week. Meanwhile, I'm pretty excited about being on your show, man. You've had some pretty good people. I mean, good company. Bit intimidated, actually.
You've been hard to catch, mate. I think this is like the 6th reschedule or something, but we're here now.
We are here now, and I promise it'll be worth it. I hope. Dude, I'm going to make this bloody good. Let's do this.
So for the people out there watching and listening today that may not know who you are, or may have kind of seen you around the traps, but
Sure.
not really know what you're about, like tell us a bit about you.
Okay, so personal then work. Aussie dad, 6 kids. From 9 till 28, I think. Granddad of 1.5, which is mental.
I didn't know that.
Check these grey hairs. That's proof. Lover of tacos. That's kind of that's personal. Nomad world traveler. We pulled the kids out of school 2 years ago. We gallivanting around the world, having a very good time, exploring everything that the world's got. Work-wise, dude, for the last 100 million years, we've been focused on how do we help great coaches to grow and scale. And so kind of, in my world, grow means go from 6 figures to $1 million a year. And that's what Black Belt's about. And then scale is if you're at $1 million, how do you get that to 5 or 10? And that's what Boardroom's about for us. So that's pretty much my world. Pretty simple. I eat tacos, we travel, and I help coaches.
Yeah. So how did you get into this? Because you weren't always the coach's coach, right? You've kind of been seen now around the world as a bit of a figure around the coach's coach, but it wasn't always like that.
No, of course not. So the coach thing was kind of interesting. I've been intrigued by coaching for as long as I can remember. I had a job working for the council, which is glamorous. It's about just as glamorous as it sounds. And I remember reading ads in the local paper in Manly for a guy called Nick Economou. I think maybe still is an action coach, but he was running seminars back in 1853 or something. And I was really intrigued by it even back then. I was speaking in schools right around mostly Sydney, but across New South Wales, getting kids revved up to raise money. And then I started a leadership program for primary school kids, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. And I knew about kids, I knew about schools, and I was a good communicator. I knew what I wanted to teach them, but I didn't have a clue about business. And I thought if I could find a business coach and tell them my story, I was young. I figured if I could find a coach telling my story, maybe I could get this person to coach me for free for the kids. That was kind of my idea. Met this guy, and he was like, I won't coach you for free, but if you come work for me, I'll teach you on the job. I've done I had a marketing background, and he figured I could be useful. And so that was kind of how my entree into the coaching world began. At the job interview, after we talked about it, and he said, I want you to sleep on this overnight. And as I left, he gave me a copy of Dr. Seuss's book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. And I figured any grown-up who can give another grown-up a Dr. Seuss book with a straight face is all right with me, I'm in. And so that's how it all started.
Wow. And then obviously progressed down the path where you got a bit of a bug for the marketing side of things and the coaching side of things.
So my job was marketing manager. On my business card, it said, marketing manager, world's #1 coaching team. Action Coach was the franchise.
And love Dr. Seuss.
Love of Dr. Seuss, 100%. So I was marketing manager, and I walked in and I was thinking slick office commanding the troops. And it was just me and this guy in an apartment, in a townhouse in Balmain. And my office was a table, a phone, and a database, and a big fat book with 74 pages of scripts for this one phone call. It did my head in. And I had to ring these dudes. Check this out, man. The script was 74 pages for one kind. It was basically the call you'd make to book somebody in for a free seminar. That was the thing. But it was like a choose your own adventure. Like if I think my words were blue. Actually, no, my words were black. I think their words were blue. And if they said, had a little trouble, like if they say this, go here. If they say that, go to page 12 or whatever it was. Which was really good in theory, but I had the script and the prospect didn't. And so they never said what they were supposed to say. Supposed to say, oh, Taki, this sounds great, book me in. And they never said that once. And so I was ringing these guys, and after, it took me forever to get 16 businesses to say yes, they were going to come to this thing at the Balmain Tigers Leagues Club on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. And it was 6:30 registration. We booked them in. And neither of us had done it before. I was just doing what I was told. And he started having the jitters, like, are they really going to show up? So on Friday afternoon, he got me to call them all and just make sure they're all coming. So they all said, yeah, we're still coming. And then on Monday, like, I had a great weekend because I wasn't the boss, right? And he was freaking out. So Monday morning, I walked, he goes, what if they don't come? And so call them again. I'm like, oh, I can't call them again. Like, I already called them the other day. Call them again. Well, I need an angle. So I had to call them to find out if they had any, if they knew where to park. All right, fine. I just need an excuse. So I rang them all. They said, yeah, we're coming. And then Tuesday morning, he's like, call them again. What if they don't come? I'm like, dude, we've called them. So I called him. I go, I need an excuse. And he said, check if there's any special dietary requirements. I'm like, we're not even catering, mate. He goes, doesn't matter. Call them anyway. I rang these guys. Yeah, we'll be there 6:30, registration for 7 o'clock start. So we're there and we're setting up in this room that's probably maybe twice as big as the room I'm in now. Not that big, ish, right? And so we got the room set up and I'm out the front, outside the door with name tags. And for that, there's 16 business, like 24 people, something like that. 6:30 comes, no one's there. 6:40, no one's there. And he's pacing, stressing because like no one's there. And he'd pop his head out every few minutes, go, are they here? No, they're not here. You said they were coming. I know, they told me. No, we just turned into this hilarious. 6:58, 2 people showed up. One of them was my best mate who came for moral support, and one was an actual real prospect. And anyway, the whole night was super awkward. Like, he didn't know if he should sit down at the table because there was only 3 of them, or he should stand up and present because it was anyway. One of them becomes a great client and became like a really great referrer, blah, blah, blah. But I got home and the next day I was like, what is going on that my marketing is getting people to say, yes, I'll come, and then not show up? And it was obvious. Like, clearly at some level, they figured it was easier to say, yes, I'm coming, than to tell me the truth. And I just got this bee in my bonnet that if I call them, they feel pressured and they push back. So how do I get them to call me? And that's where this thing started. Like 2004 was this conversation. It's like, so since then I've just been obsessed with how do I get people to reach out to coaches and say, I want to talk to you. Much better.
Wow. So how long did you last with him before you went on your own?
So I was with Action for maybe 3 years or something. It was an incredible culture. Like, every day was like being at a seminar. You got called on your stuff. That there was 14 points of culture that I just busted the guts to live to. The people were extraordinary. And but this thing inside of me was like, I want to get back into schools. That's why I started with this thing in the first place. And so I think it was Easter one year. I was in New Zealand on a farm with my wife and some friends. And I read this book, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And I had this chapter on goal setting. And basically the big idea was like, how much by when? Like, how will you measure it? And what's the date? And so I set a goal that by whatever date I'd be out back into schools, and came back in and told everybody that and found a replacement, trained them. Like, it started with me and this guy. Yeah, he had 1 client. We got him to 13. We got him to full. And then, we brought on another coach. And eventually I was like the lead gen guy for 13 business coaches. My job was to generate the lead, get them, walk them through the sales process until the coach could like literally pick up the sheet of paper on his way out to the appointment and go, I'm seeing Ivan at this address at 2 o'clock. This is his business. This is the pain points. This is what his goals are. And be able to kind of come back with a signed up client. So my job was the before bit. So I left to go do my school thing. And like, dude, it was amazing. I loved it to bits. I had a phone call a couple of years, 6 months into this, after having left, maybe December. And this guy's an Action Coach franchisee who worked downstairs from one of my mates. And he's like, I really need your help. I'm 30 grand in debt to head office in Las Vegas. They've given me 30 days to pay the money back, or I'm out. I've signed a non-compete. I've got 5 kids that I've got to feed. I don't know what to do. I'm like, man, okay. So like, before you met me, like what was your plan? And he said, well, if I put on a 2-day workshop, charge $1,000 a head, if I can get 50 people to show up, that's 30 for head office, 20 for me and my family, I think we'll be okay. I'm like, well, that's good. But it's 2 weeks before Christmas, man. Like no one's going to show up. It's December 15th, we had this chat. And he's like, oh yeah, I hadn't really, so stressed, I hadn't really thought about that. I'm like, okay, well, even if it wasn't Christmas, like to get 50 people to give you $1,000, you've got to have a pretty good database. Like, how many people on your list? And he said, well, I've never kept a database. I've got 7 clients. I've got 7 past clients. And he thought about it. He goes, but not all of the past clients still like me. I'm like, oh, crap. So we got no money and no time and no list, you know. So I just like,
before Christmas.
yeah, you know. So I'm like, well, dude, I don't know if I can help or not, but come over tomorrow and we'll see if we can work out a plan. And I didn't know any of what I know. Like, this was like very pre-internet. I didn't know anything, any of what I know now. So anyway, he comes over and we mapped out this plan. It was super manual, but long story short, I got him 57 booked appointments for $3.50 with this referral campaign. I wrote a direct mail piece to 10 restaurants in Mossman in Sydney, like a really nice restaurant strip. You know, and every letter basically started like an email that was BCC or CCing in all the others. So it's like to Barry's Italian, CC Taki's Greek, and Giovanni's this. And like, you notice I'm writing this letter to 90 of your competitors as well. What I've got to say is important. Time is of the essence. I can only work with one of you, blah, blah, blah. So we sent that. He got a client paid in full. We sent it to another restaurant strip, same deal, 3 times. Anyway, long story short, he went every month. Action Coach published an email, like they sent email to all their franchisees with like just a list of names from who's making the most to who's making the least. He was at the bottom, and 87 days later, not only he paid back the stuff, but he was number 2. And everyone's like, "Dude, what happened to you?" And he said, "I met this guy Taki," and that's how the business. Like all of a sudden, everyone else wanted help, and that's how this thing started.
So that's how you transition out of the schools into the coach's marketer.
Yeah.
And at what point did you realize that you wanted to help coaches more directly, or was that the part of it that then evolved into what is now black belt?
Yeah, it's literally the part of it that became something else that became black belt. I'm not a very goal-driven guy. Like I don't have goals and I don't write them down. I don't read them every day and I don't visualize. I just kind of solve the next problem and usually end up somewhere good if you solve enough problems. It's a little bit disappointing. Yeah. Sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's actually funny. I read in a post the other day, like, do you set goals? And if so, what are they? And you're like, nah, nope.
Yeah. I've set 1. Actually, no, that's not true. I've set 2. 1 years ago and 1 this year. The first one was 10 years ago today, or 10 years ago this month-ish. Found out that we were pregnant with my daughter, who's now 10. And at the time, I was dead broke. I had to borrow $200 from my mate Sam to go to Coles and get food. And I've come home and Kieran Marie said, "Babe, I've got some news." I'm like, "Oh, great, I like news." And she goes, "Oh, you might want to sit down." I'm like, "Oh, I don't like sit-down news." Sit-down news is never good news. And she's like, "Oh, babe, I'm pregnant." I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing." And I give her this big hug and I'm all celebratory, and then she leaves. Fuck, how am I like, I'm dead broke. I didn't think I could afford it, man. I thought we were going to die. And so my goal was, before this baby's born, I've got to get us to $8,000 a month. I figured if I could do that, we'd be okay. And I did my first webinar a few weeks later, and it was like 46 new clients in 70 minutes. I was like, "Oh, this thing could be a thing." I led webinars then. And the only other goal I set was this year. Dude, I don't think I'm going to hit it, but I think we're going to get close. And the goal was to get 50 coaches to $1 million a year this year. I was feeling really despondent until Friday. Friday we had an award ceremony at Black Belt here in the States, and I awarded 12 clients their Black Belt $1 million.
How many?
12 on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, maybe. So I think we're at 41 for the year. Dude. Anyway, see how we go. I'm working at it.
Wow. So looking back into life, like we talk about the comeback game, what has been like some of the biggest challenges or the biggest adversity that you guys have had to kind of overcome? Because, like I've had the privilege of knowing you personally for a little while now and not personally for a long while now. And, to me, this guy that's always pretty jovious, pretty cruisy, like you said, just solve the next problem, just move on, quite simplistic, traveling around the world. But I also know, though, that you've had challenges. And a lot of the time, people don't see this from the outside looking in because, we're not necessarily one to go and publish this shit everywhere.
Dude, it's because the way that everybody in the world sees us is through our Instagram feed, which is like rose filtered and perfect. Look at me, smashed avocado, hashtag entrepreneur life or whatever, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, we've had a whole bunch of challenges from from being broke back then to Ethan, our son. He's 18 now, and he's in a really good place now, thank God. But he's got epilepsy and cerebral palsy and autism, and he's been in hospital for months at a time. He's been on morphine for pain relief for 3 or 4 months straight in agony, and he's stopped breathing and like heart still going but no breathing, twice in hospital. And like, dude, there's been times where Kieran and I are like standing at the hospital, he's right here, and he's on they're checking his oxygen saturation, and you just hear this thing go, the thing goes drop, and the alarms go off, and a nurse rushes in and just like smashes the emergency button. And like within 15 seconds, there's like 10 doctors and nurses zooming the kid next door, in the other bed out. And Kieran and I just had to take a step back, and we're holding each other's hand, looking at this situation, thinking we're going to lose Ethan. Like that's hard. That's happened twice. And, we're really lucky. We deliberately built our business to be able to be there for Ethan when he needed us in hospital. And he's in a really good place right now. So instead of like having a business that gives us flexibility so we can go to hospital, now we can take the flexibility and travel the world. But that's why we built it like we did. So that I could be at Westmead Kids for 10 weeks and still have clients getting results. You know what I mean? That's big. I think every phase in your business, like you hit at least for us, like we grow and then we hit some new problem, and the problem either holds you where you are for longer than it should, or you start losing clients, money, revenue, and going backwards. And like whether you hold or you drop, both ways not fun. Like there's nothing worse than like working hard for 6 months and getting nowhere. I remember a few years ago, one of the things you should measure probably if you're a coach is retention, and churn is a part of that. How long some of these days, and what percentage of people leave each month. And when your business is small, like a 1 or 2% churn feels like nothing. Like you've got 10 clients, 1% isn't going to come around for a long time. But if you've got hundreds, and you've got a marketing system that I'm just going to make up numbers. Let's say you've got a marketing system that can bring in like 5 people a month, and your churn rate is less than that, you're fine. But when it grows and the churn rate stays the same, just because of numbers of people, you've got to work super hard just to replace the ones who you lost. And like we had a few years ago, we worked so hard for like 7 or 8 months, and it felt like we was working harder than ever, spinning our wheels and not getting ahead. And dude, it's not fun. Especially when you're not only am I trying to grow my business, but I've got to lead by example. Figure this shit out. Anyway, why don't you talk and I'll answer questions.
What's been the like what I've kind of picked up there though is that like a couple of things. Number one is that mentality around like just solve the next problem. Right. So in some ways it's a simplistic approach, but in many ways it's a very powerful approach too, because you look in society at the moment and people are just so busy. Like they're so busy with so much shit that just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. And wondering why they're unhappy or depressed or anxious or all the other things that we're seeing right now. Right. But the second is your ability to keep going as well. And it's like you've got the challenge with Ethan, yet you've turned that into a lifestyle now that most people don't live or haven't been able to live, which is that. Right. You and your kids are traveling around the world, nomadic, get to hang out with some amazing people, do some amazing things, experience amazing experiences. As a result of that, yet I could see that a lot of other people too would be like, oh no, we need to stay here because it's got the best hospital care.
Right, of course. Yeah. And like, dude, there's lots of places in the world where the hospital care is not great, and there's a ton of places in the world which aren't wheelchair friendly. Like I remember, like Venice is an amazing city. It's all canals and stairs, like neither of which is like particularly good with a wheelchair. So there's lots of like boom, 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 boom up the hill, and then boom, 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 boom down the other side. But like, dude, it's either going to be a reason why not to, or it's going to be like a lot of people go like, I can't do this because of my kids. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Take them with you.
Yeah.
I think life's extraordinary. Part of our motivation for traveling around the world with the kids is like the world's really divided right now. Like I mean, here in the States, and there's like a ton of red, blue. There's white, black. There's rich, poor. There's like, and that's just all over the world right now. And like, there's lots of us and them. And I just thought, like, if we can bring the kids with us, of course they're going to think us and them unless they meet the them and they realize that they're the same as us. And so we're like, part of this deal is like, how do we meet all of them? And so what I love is most mornings my daughter will, most days my daughter will wake up and she'll go to her iPad and she'll just scroll through cities and go, okay, it's nighttime, but it's 10 o'clock in the morning in Tokyo right now. Let me jump on with Alina, Ken Okazaki, one of our clients' kids. And so she's got these clients, these friends all around the world, and just based on time zone, she's always online with somebody. It's amazing. It's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it's rad. And so this is the us's and the thems. Anyway, I don't know. That probably doesn't answer. I can't remember what the question was, so I'll just shut up again and you can lead us.
No, it's good. What do you think, like, if you look back over your past 10, 15 years in business, like, what do you kind of think is your secret sauce to the success to where you're at? Like, you've got a community now with 400 plus coaches in there, known around the world. You guys provide phenomenal results to your clients, and continue to do so. What do you think is the secret sauce?
Well, dude, I don't know that there's a secret sauce, but there's several. I think caring and art are probably the two secret sauces. So the first one is caring. Dude, we wouldn't do if it was just about the cash, we wouldn't put nearly as much hard work in, but we give a shit. Like, we really care. Like, when a client struggles, I hurt. When a client wins, I celebrate. I want to do more celebrating than hurting. So I'll bust a gut to make things great for my clients. And I think I'm on a mission. Like, this $50 million coach thing is like, it'll have a spin-off effect of making us look good, but just like, how cool is that? If we can help 50 people hit $1 million a year, like the percentage of coaches who get to $1 million a year is tiny, So number one is caring. I think like nothing good happens until you give a shit. And then I think the second one is art. We, for years, people have thought my content was really creative and the visuals were nice and the slides look pretty and people go, wow, your content's so artful. And then I remember, dude, I'm gonna tell a story, but I promise it'll land in about 2 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm in a workshop here in LA selling black belt a few years ago, and we're literally around this table at the end of the kind of the pitch bit, where I've just said, so is there anything else you'd need to know to help you know that this is the right next step for you? And this woman puts up her hand. First question, she goes, so what's your vision? And you already know that I don't do goals. So if I don't do goals, my vision's going to be pretty fuzzy at best, right? And I told her I didn't know I never thought of it. I didn't have a packaged answer. And I just told her what came to my head, which was years ago, my uncle sent me this box full of cassette tapes, Michael Gerber, Jay Abraham. And I was listening to Gerber when he came to Brisbane once. And he said, he was talking about how the best businesses in the world are obsessed about quality. And he talked about how at Disneyland, they steam clean the car park. Literally, they steam clean the car park every night.
What? Wow.
Yeah, right. The average lifespan, like if you drop a piece of rubbish at Disneyland, the average lifespan of a piece of rubbish at Disney is 3 seconds. It's ridiculous. And then Gerber said, in traveling around the world and seeing tens of thousands of businesses, I've seen churches that are run like gas stations. And I've seen gas stations that are run like churches. And so I told her that story, and I said, so, in other words, I've seen something sacred run like garbage and something that's an average everyday business run like a church, sacred. And I said, so, this is a gas station run like a church, and so I've been famous for my content for years, and that was my art. And then when I said that, I had this that if I stepped back and I thought that the stuff on the slides and the stuff in the workbook and the stuff on the flip chart wasn't just the art, but what if the whole business could be my canvas, and I could paint my soul, my DNA, our kind of way of being, that kind of class and care and flow, professional and personal, on every, even the stuff that no client will ever see, backstage stuff, is as elegant and simple and beautiful and classy as the stuff that it's and I really care about that, you know. That's the special sauce, I think.
One thing that I've noticed, awesome answer. One thing I've noticed with you guys too is that you have this unique way of taking something seemingly complex, and making it tangible, making it simple.
So if I had 3 special sauces, that was my number 3. Simple. Yeah. I think I was running a workshop in New York City once, and there's this African American dude with these cool dreads, like, you know, dude, black people are just cooler. Let's face it, man. Like, they're just way cooler than us. And he just stops me mid-sentence. He goes, "Taki, I got to stop you off. I got to cut you off right there." I'm like, "All right, man, what's up?" He goes, "You know what I love about you, man?" I'm like, "No, man. What do you love about it?" He goes, "I love how you take it from high level to eye level." And I just was like, that's perfect. So that guy's name was Coach Kaya, and I've been crediting him ever since. That's the whole idea. Like, I want to take it from like big, high level concept down to something I can like pick up and I know exactly what to do with my hands. And I think that's the test for us of like, did we do a good job? Like, is the concept clear and simple? And then do I know exactly what to do with it? And that's if there's lots of tactics, but it doesn't make sense contextually, then I think we've missed it. And if they get the idea, but they have no idea how to implement it, then I think we just frustrate people, and we kind of do that high level dance. This workshop that you're coming to next week, right? It's about how to simplify and multiply your coaching business. I've never worked so hard on a workshop in my life. I've had to rebuild this workshop 5 times. I never do that, but I've had to, because I kept building this amazing workshop that was way too complex, and I can't teach you how to simplify in a complex way. You know what I mean? So you can't. It's hypocritical.
Yeah.
So anyway, simplify. Yeah, I think the simple thing is really important.
What do you think the biggest thing is that prevents coaches from getting to $1 million a year?
I don't know that there's one. I think the first thing I would say is because they don't have a really simple plan, they end up trying lots of stuff and getting spread too thin. So like that's like an overall problem. But if I had to like drop down from there, I'd go, number one, they either try to be all things to all people. There's a great coaching book called How to Coach Anyone About Anything. It's a really good coaching book, but it's a really shitty business model. It's really hard. Or they sell something super intangible that nobody. Dude, I'm not very woo-woo, and so anyone who's watching this, listening to this, who is, please hear this in the spirit it's meant. I want you to win. There's a lot of coaches who coach something that isn't very quantifiable and wonder why people aren't happy to spend money on it. So, I think that the easiest way to grow your coaching business is to have one great product that you like, one kind of client that you love, and a product that you can just look them in the eye and go, this thing will get you the results you're after. And to do that, you have to be really clear about what's their actual problem. So I think a lot about $100,000 problems. The easiest way, frankly, to grow a coaching business is to find a group of people who've got a $100,000 problem and offer to solve it for 10 grand. It's if you're a business coach, that sounds really, really easy, but there's fitness coaches or spiritual coaches, and all we need to do is be really clear about what's the actual trend. Like, if your coaching business was Superman's phone booth, how does Clark Kent walk in and how does Superman walk out? You just need to be really clear that we're selling a transformation, and then people will be willing to pay a premium for a transformation. We had boardroom here in California a couple of days ago, and Rob Nixon, one of our guys, the question he asks his prospects is, what would need to happen for you to happily pay me $50,000 a year for the rest of your life? What a great question. And the answers are way simpler than you'd think. Like, nobody asked for 77 hours of one-on-one coaching time or extra workshops. They all just went straight to, well, if you can help keep making my results go up, then I'll happily pay 50 grand for the rest of our life. So I think just like a focus on results really is what we sell. We sell an outcome of transformation. And if you take that simple, and you parlay that into who's your market and what's your product, how do you generate leads, how do you sell, all of that just wants to be simple one thing answers.
Which is not too dissimilar to business in general though, right?
Of course. Yeah, a coaching business is a business. I used to live years ago in a suburb of Sydney called Gladesville, and there was a law firm there. It was, like last name and last name, like they all are. And on their wall, it had like last name and last name, specialists in everything. And I was like, come on, dude. Clearly, that's not true. So I think let's not be specialists in everything. Let's be specialists at something, and ideally something that people are willing to spend money on.
What do you think it is that stops people? This is an interesting topic because we see it a lot. People that almost have this fear around niching down, or have this fear around being specific.
It's terrifying. Yeah, man, it's terrifying.
Why is that?
I think there's 3 reasons people do it. They're scared because the first reason is they're worried that if I niche down to one thing, I lose all of the opportunity. Like if there's 100% of the world is a potential client, I feel good about that. But if I just leave it down to something that's less than 1%, then I've just instantly cut off 99%. That's a fear. Second thing I think that people are worried about is variety. Like if I niche to one thing, it might be boring and I'll lose variety. And I think the third thing is, like, let's say I do niche and I pick the wrong thing, then I've committed to something that isn't going to work and I'm locked in. So shall we answer those one by one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Number 1, if I niche, I lose opportunity. In other words, I go from the whole world as my potential client to that much. Well, here's the thing. If you think about marketing a bit like fishing, so we're standing on the edge of a lake or a beach with one of those nets, and we're throwing it out to catch the fish. We want to catch as many fish as we can. So the temptation is to stretch the net really, really, really wide and broaden up the niche. What happens when you stretch the net really wide? The holes get bigger, and if the holes are bigger, the fish swim through. So that's kind of the first thing. What we want to do is almost like blowing a dog whistle. When you blow a dog whistle, every dog's ears will prick up and they'll hear you, but every non-dog will just keep walking, not even know you're there. That's how good marketing should be, I think. So that's the first thing. Every time we've helped a client niche, we haven't halved their opportunity. We've tripled it every single time, because now all of a sudden when you blow the whistle, the ears prick up. So that's the first bit. I think the second thing is about variety. I think too often we're looking for variety by changing our business or changing our business model and having to relearn. I mean, there's something lovely about relearning I've got a new client in this industry. I'm going to get fascinated and learn all about that. But I find variety inside my business, not like inside my core business, not outside. So I can think of probably, if I checked, I'd give you an exact number, but probably 35 or 40 ridiculously exciting projects that I want to roll out inside Black Belt. And I just can't get to them all right now because because 35 or 40 is a lot of things. But I've got a ridiculous amount of variety. And one of the things you'll see in the new year is a pipeline of new releases, new ads for clients to test, new strategies to roll out. And each month I'll say, here's the stuff that's in the pipeline. And we're just checking and go, what do you need most right now? Prioritize them and get to work in the lab testing and figuring stuff out. So like I've got a never-ending amount of creativity both on that, how do we get new clients side and how do we get clients results side. So I think you can get variety wherever you look for it. I look for it inside. It's just much simpler. And then the third piece is, what if I pick the wrong one? Well, dude, no one said you had to get married to the niche. Just date it for a bit. At the end of like 6 weeks or 3 months, you're going to know, is this right for me or not? And either way, you've got some data that you can make a decision on instead of like sitting freaked out, paralyzed, Yeah.
It's so true. And typically business owners, they're, with that comes this bit of a shiny thing syndrome. And because they are so big picture typically, and there is a strong drive for variety. But as you said, there's plenty of resourceful variety that can be found inside your core business and outside of sabotaging your own success.
Dude, 100%. Can I tell you the best niche business I think I've ever seen?
Yeah.
All right. So there's a company in the UK. They do product photography. You know, like if you've got a new thing, they take photos of it. So these guys, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
WeShootBottles.com. So what do? They shoot bottles. And that's all they do. So if you happen to have some stuff that comes in a bottle, they will take photos of it. That's their whole business. Oh, that's actually not quite true. They've got this, bottle's not your thing? Click here. And that takes you to We Shoot Cans, which is which is their side business. They're really kind of venturing out into cans as well. But I WeShootBottles.com, WeShootCans.com. I think like it's really nice to have, I help this kind of person with this kind of problem to get this kind of promise. And then you can just like pour your heart and soul into actually being useful for people and getting them an actual result. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, well, it helps you to refine your product a lot to fix a specific problem.
Of course.
Big niche.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch things up. Like I'm keen to hear more about your nomadic lifestyle, right? And how a few things like number one, like how do you plan on where you guys want to go, and how do you work that in with still running a business? Obviously, you've got a team both around the world, but quite a decent sized team in the fields as well.
Yep.
And you're obviously running events and webinars and things for your client. How do you work all that in and still feel like you're, I suppose, living?
Yeah, perfect. So, dude, that's a big question. I'll tell you the bad news first. It often means you have to reschedule stuff. So we've rescheduled this multiple times. I'm really sorry we've done it. Hopefully I'm doing okay, and you'll be glad that we did it. And it was like, I should have just canceled the stupid thing. The guy's an idiot and the content was no good. So how do you do it? The way we plan it is really simple. This is how it came about, man. Like every year we pick a word, like a theme for the year that's coming. And 3 or 4 years ago, we had a really good work year, like business grew, work was good, did great work. Life was a bit beige, like a bit boring. And I think Tim Ferriss is right. Like the opposite of happiness isn't sadness. The opposite of happiness is kind of boredom. And so I think the one thing that, if they didn't listen to any of the business stuff out of this, but just like the one thing I wish that every single person who listened to this got or watched this got was just, if they could inject like 5% more excitement in their life, dude, life gets great. Excitement is kind of where it's at, I reckon. And so I was like, so every year we pick a word, and I was like, dude, this year's okay, but it's been pretty beige, a bit boring. Need more adventures. And so I told Karen, babe, I just need more adventures. I'm feeling a bit bored. This is, So we travel, because I enjoy travel. I had the bug since I was a kid. We went to Morocco, and we rode on camels, and we did all these things. And it was a great year. I'm sitting at our local taco shop in in Monavale, MX, having a brisket taco and savoring the flavor and just thinking, this has been the best year ever. How could we ever beat this year? And my brain just said, well, what if you never came back? I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And so I asked the waitress for a napkin and a pen, and I started drawing. And I'll show you what I drew because it's kind of rad. I'm just going to turn the brightness down here, so hopefully it doesn't reflect too bad. So can you see the circle? Let's call that Sydney. Sydney is home, right? And so I thought, okay, well, we've got to be in Sydney 3 times a year for Blackfoot, March and July and November, 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the only time I really have to be somewhere. The rest of the time we could be anywhere. So if we could be anywhere, why don't we travel a bit? So I thought, okay, well, let's just take 3 months off here and 3 months there and 3 months there and explore the world. It started to look a bit like a propeller.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, this it's symmetrical. It's starting to look like a model. It needs layers. Okay, so what if we went to Europe and Asia or Asia Pacific and the Americas?
Yeah.
So well, this is good. Now let's next level this. I was like, okay, so what if we in Europe, if we went Italy, France or Spain, and then somewhere north like a Viking place. So I put V for Viking. I wasn't sure which one. We're actually going to Iceland, Finland rather, in a couple of weeks. Then Asia, like we've got a team in the Philippines, so we'll go there. Let's go to Bali, and let's go to Thailand and ride elephants and stuff. And then America, we've got East Coast, West Coast, South America, Brazil, and that was our plan for the first year. So I run home from this taco shop with this kind of crazy propeller. Bang! I've got to figure it out. We're going to propel around the world. It's like, what are you talking about? And to her credit, she, after thinking about it for a bit, she went with it. And obviously, it goes from a silly propeller plan into calendars and flights and logistics and boring stuff. But I was kind of sold, 5 minutes into tacos. And then I'm the make it up guy, and part of the amazing thing about Karen Marie is she makes it real. So that's like how we started. Dude, you asked me like 3 questions in one, and I've answered them.
So it's been 2 years now, yeah? Just about 2 years of traveling, is that right?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
How have you made this work? Like, it's because it's not just you guys. Like, you're traveling with your kids too, right?
Yeah, we're traveling with the kids. 3 kids the whole time, and a 4th half the time.
Yeah.
And then a nanny / teacher with us most of the time. So there's like 6 people in the entourage. 7 in the entourage. So we're kind of Airbnb-ing or hoteling. I love good hotels, but when you're traveling long-term with a family, it's nice to all be together. So Airbnb kind of makes more sense.
Yeah.
The problem with Airbnbs is they don't make your bed, which I hate. So, dude, someone watching this needs to invent this. If you could put a layer on top of Airbnb that lets you book and then click a button which says, for $50 a day, make my bed and do the dishes. I want that button, please. Right now, I just message them, say, hey, these are my dates. I really want to book it. Can you get your cleaners to come in every day at 11? And they say yes, but this much more. And we say yes. And that's kind of how I don't like dishes or cleaning. We're about like usually 3 or 4 weeks in a place is the idea. First, Karen Marie wanted to do 3 months in a spot. I wanted to do a week. I have a higher need for variety, clearly, than the rest of the world. I got my way. She was probably right. So this year we've done like 2 to 3 weeks. And I think next year we'll do like a month, maybe even 6 weeks in a place and kind of bed down and explore a bit.
Yeah. And logistically then, how does this work? Because it's not just you and Kira Marie. You've got
it's a business and clients and a family and
4 kids, and then on top of this, you've got 400 plus clients, events around the world, both in US and in Australia.
Yep. Okay, so obviously can't do it solo. Well, could do it solo, but really hard. Got an amazing team, and I'm really grateful for them. The hard part has been being in Europe because the time zone difference between Europe and Australia is really hard. Like if I'm doing an 8 a.m. Sydney AM webinar and I'm in Italy at the time, it's a 2 a.m. webinar. I've got to be fresh as a daisy at 2 a.m. That's not easy.
Yeah.
I figured at the last boardroom, David Dugan taught me this breathing technique that a guy called Shane Saunders taught him, who was a special forces. Oh my God, man. It changed my life. I was in Italy a few months ago and I had a midnight webinar and a 2 a.m. webinar. So I got through the midnight one and I've got this like 45 minutes sitting on my butt, like waiting for the next thing. And Chris Dufay was the guy I was hot sitting, who you might know, and or you do know. And at 1:45, I did this 12-minute breathing thing that I've got this recording. I listen to it, do it most mornings. And at the end of this thing, I was more awake, more alive, more pumped, more focused, more powerful than I've ever. I was like Tony Robbins. I just, walked on fire. And learning that you can manage your energy has been a game changer. So my number one commit was, I'm going to travel around the world, but I want to make sure that it doesn't negatively impact any clients. That was the thing. And so if that means the webinar is at a bad time for me, I'd much rather it be a bad time for one person than screw up 400 people. And so I just make it work. Dude, it really means that I've leaned heavily on a few amazing people in my team. And as I look to next year, it means I'll lean heavily on some really key clients who have stepped up and agreed to do some great work with our, some boardroom guys specifically to do some senseis in the Black Belt community. And man, I'm really grateful. I'm surrounded by amazing people, and yeah, we just couldn't do what we do without brilliant people around us. I think that's like that's the thing you really want to collect is friendships. You know, I feel honored to have amazing people around the world. I'm like really grateful for all of them. And I just like, check this out, man. I'm running boardroom next week in Manly. And it's funny, boardroom's the part of my world that I felt like it makes, like out of everything we do work-wise, it makes the least money. It's the least leverage. It's the thing I obsess about more than anything else. It's the one thing I haven't been able to crack and get right in 3 years. Like I feel like it's been good, but it hasn't been where I want it. Until this last week, we had the most extraordinary boardroom of my life. Like literally, it was like one of the all-time highlights of my work life was this last weekend. And it's because of a great friend and a great client called Sean Finter, who I started chatting with after the last one. And he basically just took over half of, like, I did the 9 to 5 of boardroom, and he did what happened from Friday lunchtime all the way through Friday night. You know, rented the Airbnb, got the food, did these amazing exercises with people, and like just bonded people together. Check this out, but here's what's cool. It was amazing. And I'm going to Manly in a few days' time to run it with our boardroom group in Australia. And I'm like, but I don't have Sean. How am I going to do this? And so he and I were chatting yesterday, and he's like, well, just say the word. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I've got some things on, but I've already spoken to the team. I've cleared the days, and I'll come and we'll do it there and we'll make it amazing. And so like, you know what I mean? Like he's not getting paid. He doesn't get anything out of it other than to help a brother out. And that's pretty rad, you know, it's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty lucky.
I think you do that too. Like, I remember for many years, my best mates were actually my clients, you know, because when you're working in that capacity of coaching clients, you know, like it's deep. It's deep for someone to let you in their life enough that you can make a significant impact.
Yeah.
And not walk out the other side as best friends.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really funny. We had like 14 clients walk into boardroom and 14 lifelong friends walk out, mostly thanks to Sean. It's pretty, dude, just, it was next level. Both really deep emotionally and really fun. It just kind of ticked all the boxes. So it's good.
It's awesome. That's really cool.
It was.
Mate, before we finish up, just cautious of time.
No worries.
What are your 3 tips for living a nomadic lifestyle? And the reason I ask this is that I'm noticing more and more this theme of the whole work from home thing. It was about 12 months ago now, pretty much exactly 12 months ago now, we got rid of our office. And, you know, went virtual with our team. And it was something I resisted for a long time because I was concerned we couldn't build culture. Like being all around the world. I've never been concerned about the accountability of work. Like I've never been a boss that's kept timesheets or anything like that. That at all is just not my jam. But in actual fact, like it improved culture.
Of course.
What I found is that I was traveling so much that when I would leave the office, the vibe would kind of go down, and I'd get back and it'd take a week to get it back up again. And I was always feeling guilty because I was never there for these guys, and I was kind of traveling around even though I was working. I went virtual. It was like the best thing that we've ever done. Like the culture we have is amazing. I've just booked a trip to the Philippines.
Cool.
Never been. We've got 7 staff there. And
do you know where you're going?
They've organised the whole thing for me. They're like,
whatever they do, it'd be great.
Just rock up at the airport and we've taken care of everything for you.
And I'm really excited to people. Number 1, you're probably going to have to do karaoke at one stage, so pick a song. Number 2, don't eat balut. It's this gross, anyway, just balut, B-A-L-U-T. If they ask you to eat something gross, and they probably will, just say, I'll eat it after you do, and then they'll back off and leave you alone. That's how you win the Filipino food game. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, sorry. Back to the question.
Yeah, but best thing with, you know, these people were so close to it, never met them, never physically met them. Phenomenal culture. And I'm seeing more and more people, like I was speaking to Lisa Messenger, had her on the show the other day, and she's just gone virtual as the start of this year as well. And improved profitability, improved culture. She's got increased efficiencies. Like, what are your, and I suspect that this is going to become a lot more mainstream. I can see in corporate as well, they're incentivizing people with like work from home position. Like, what are your top 3 nomadic tips?
Yeah. So I think minimum viable office is probably a good thing to start with. Like, what's in your bag? I'm just going to take my headphones out. Give me like 10 seconds or 5 seconds. I want to show you something. I've got this little bag. This little bag here is my whole office. I can run my whole business off this thing. It carries everything that's set up right here. So I mean, literally, it's that big, dude. Like, it's as big as my head. I don't own a computer anymore. I've got an iPad that I adore. I've got a phone. I've got a battery, and then I've got a tripody, like a selfie stick with a tripod. Hey, my little daughter's coming. Come here, quick, bub. Of course you can say something, but I'm on a podcast right now, so make it cute, or at least quick. What's that? If you can what? Cut, yeah, dude, it's fine with me. I'd love to shave it all off. Come over here for a sec. Barry, this is Aroha.
Hi.
She said her hair's a mess. We went to Brazil, it got braided, and it's never quite recovered. It's okay with me, but you need to talk to Mum, and I recommend that. Oh, dude, I'm not even going to talk about that. See you, Mum. Okay, so what do you actually need? Like, my whole world is, I've got 3 superpowers. I can talk, I can draw, and I can jam with people. That's really all I do for work. So iPad's perfect for drawing, phone's perfect for talking, and most of my work is done in collaborations. Like, Zoom is my favorite tool of all time. It's extraordinary. And so, phone, iPad, battery power, and a little tripod that holds the phone. Dude, I've got an office anywhere in the world, ready to go. So I think that's the first thing, is like, skinny down your kit. I love video, and I've bought like way too much camera equipment, like just ridiculous amounts of there's this guy on YouTube called Casey Neistat who I love. And so I was like, what camera does Casey Neistat use? And it was a Canon 80D or something. So I bought it, of course, in the lens and the stuff. And then like 3 weeks in, he announces, I've switched and got a new camera. I was like 2 weeks into this camera, so I bought the new one again as well, didn't I? And he didn't like it. So a week later, he switched to something. I bought 3 cameras. And then he changed. He goes like, I'm done with this. But I bought like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gear. But frankly, the best setup is something super light that can be with you anywhere. So like, the best camera is the one in your pocket. So that's number one. I think it's really good to face-to-face as often as you can. So like, I love that you're going to the Philippines. You want to be present, not just because, well, for 2 reasons. Obviously, it makes people, it connects you. And you can get incredible work done virtually just as well as you can in an office. And you found that already. I think big things are going to happen when you go to the Phils. Like, we go twice a year, and we can get like 6 months worth of work done or progress made in 3 or 4 days. So I think thing 2 would be set a schedule to be face-to-face with your people. We have team meetings. I'm not a meetings guy, but I see the value. Once a week we have a team meeting, and then twice a week we have what's called an unstuck, which is anytime they get stuck. There's a channel in Slack which is unstuck, and either I'll just voice record answers, or twice a week there's a time where I just jump on a Zoom, and whoever has a stuck asks me, and we unstick it. That'd be number 2. I think that the challenge with working from home or going nomad really is that the line that used to exist, like I'm at the office now, so I'm working, and now I'm home, that goes. And so you need to put the line in yourself. That's the tricky part. Yeah. And so in my world, I don't work Mondays. So every weekend we've got a 3-day week. Every week we've got a 3-day weekend, which is awesome. Typically my work will be in the afternoon or the evening, depending on where we are in the world. But usually I'll work in the afternoon or evening, which means I've got like a whole day out exploring the world with the kids and Kira Marie and having a good time. And then, after dinner, I can do a little bit of this. You know what I mean? So I think like building a schedule that fits you. And like, frankly, even if you don't work virtually, building a schedule that suits you is super important. years ago, I made this great friend called Matt Church. And he said, I think it'd be really easy to, well, I was completely starstruck. I was like, why do you want to be my friend? And anyway, he says, it'll be much easier when you know how my weeks work. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, if you think about like a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a week to it. He goes, we fill from the middle. I'm like, okay. So if we've got a blank week and there's an appointment to be booked, it goes on Wednesdays. And then once Wednesday's full, then we'll fill Tuesday and Thursday. Usually that means I can have a Monday or a Friday off. I'm like, that's genius, right? Fill from the middle. And then he says, but it works vertically too. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, the first appointment always goes at lunchtime. And then we fill. I said, well, he goes, that way I can almost always drop my kids off to school and pick them up afterwards. Genius, right? Such a simple, elegant idea. So I think that like whether you do that or the main thing is like, the question isn't, is your calendar going to be full? It's going to be, the question really is, who's going to fill your calendar? And the answer to that should be me, the way I want to make me happy, right? So I think they're the three, like pack light, get face-to-face when you can, and then choose a schedule that you love.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any last words, mate, to the guys that are watching and listening to this today? It's been fun. You had fun?
I've had a great time. It's been awesome. It's fun talking about stuff you don't normally get to talk about, Last words.
So we kind of lured people in with the business talk, and then we hit them with the nomadic lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%. I think this Tim Ferriss idea that the opposite of happiness isn't sadness, it's boredom. And so just think about what would add a little bit more excitement or a little bit more adventure to your world. If you made a list of 5 things and worked out how often you could do those things, I think you'd be in a great place, Adventures are really fun and you should get as many of them as you can. I think that's all I want to say.
Yeah. Taki, mate, so grateful to have had you on the show. Trust that everyone watching, listening got huge value. Looking forward to catching up next week. If you guys listening might want to reach out, how can they find you?
$milliondollarcoach.com is the website. And find me on Facebook or Instagram.
Or in the local taco shop.
Or at MX in Mona Vale eating brisket tacos, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate your time.
Dude, absolute pleasure. Good luck, mate. The show's fantastic. And if you're listening to this, keep listening because Barry's a really good dude.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.
Pleasure, man.